Let's talk about Tammy and David. Okay, so that means that I'll talk about Joe Button in the Bondy Blue show, y'all, just so y'all are aware. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to Tammy in real world. Okay, so y'all, I had to do some research for this subject matter because I needed to understand what the hell was going on between Tammy and David all the way back to 1993. Okay, because I did not watch Real World in 93 because I was only like 5. So I wasn't watching it back then. Okay, I wasn't on reality TV in 93, my bad. But either way, y'all, I caught some of these clips. And back in 93, David was the type of guy that wanted to make everybody laugh almost to a fault. And I'm gonna take it a step deeper and feeling like I feel like he was using a black woman to be the butt of his joke because that was easier for him around all those white people than having to actually be funny. But either way, he was
Because
very
I watched the
volatile.
show. He was that way with everybody. David was like I watched the season.
Yeah, I was
David
just
was an
about to say he was
asshole
volatile.
to
He was
everybody.
volatile.
Like it
Yeah,
wasn't
he,
just
he
Tammy.
lunged at somebody. He was wilding. Like, no, it wasn't just Tammy at all. He was volatile then, and he's volatile now. This season, Tammy said he threw an apple at John. I was like, I need to go back and watch this whole season. It's on Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus be buffering too much, but I'm still gonna try to watch it. Either way, what I learned from 1993 is that Tammy was in a bed in underwear. Everybody's in a room talking, and here comes David trying to snatch the cover off of her. And she keeps telling him, "Stop, don't do it. Stop, I don't have any clothes on." And he kept doing it. Now, because the shit is uncomfortable, she's laughing, right? So everybody's laughing, but the white girl, Beth, I believe, Beth was trying with all her might to keep this damn blanket over Tammy, which made me feel like she knew what Tammy was feeling like and what that really was feeling like in the moment, even though everybody's laughing, right? So he actually ends up dragging Tammy into the hallway with her trying to keep this cover over her body. He never stopped, right? Gets to the hallway, he finally pulls it over her head, and she had to like fix her underwear because her underwear were coming down and all of this. And so one of the white guys, I believe it was the one that was always wearing that cowboy hat, but he comes and throws the cover.
John.
John, he came and threw the cover back on her. And then David comes back and snatches it off again. So she ends up running into the bathroom to find clothes. And then when she got a chance to think about it, she was pissed. David thought that because she was laughing that everything was okay, even though she had repeatedly said, no, stop. This is in 1993. So think about that now. We're in 2021, right? They show up to the new show and everybody feels like they need to apologize to David because it was almost like they called him a artist. But I want to say that David pulled his pants down, showed his penis, and ran and kind of walked after this woman, one of the women who was saying they didn't feel safe with him after he had done that to Tammy. He was like, "Oh, all right, well, let me just be like Tammy." So he pulls his pants down and shows his butt and his penis to everybody and follows this lady behind her. And she was like, "And I will call the police and yell R." And that
2021.
no, he
No,
did
this is
that
back
in
in '93.
93. He did that in 93. But when we fast forward to 2021, he's still acting like they're apologizing to him for how everybody responded to him back then because they ended up kicking him out of the house because they didn't feel safe and he never really wanted to have the conversation. He wanted to talk to Tammy and them privately or without the cameras on. And it was obvious that as women, they had decided, no, you want to sit down and talk to all of us, then we're going to sit down at this table and talk. He didn't want to do that. So once Tammy was like, well, if he doesn't leave, I'm going to leave, they ended up sending him home. Well, fast forward to now, I'm seeing he's had like a drug addiction and all of that. And they made them rewatch the clips from the stuff that happened in 93. And Tammy was explaining.
I don't think he was he on. I don't think he was on drugs.
People were saying he was on drugs. He looked
No,
like
he
he
got.
was on drugs.
Well, no, he got into he got into a car accident about 2 months before filming. So he almost died. He was on a motorcycle and like his head was cut open. It was crazy. So he's different now because of the car accident. He
Okay.
is physically and mentally different, and this is a recent accident. That's why on his head you can see a dent.
I saw
It's
that dent.
from
I saw that dent on his head. But
he
I'm
almost
not going to
died
say
like
I
maybe
feel
two like
like
2 months
he's
ago.
I'm not going to say I feel like he's all that different. I'm not going to say that at all, because Tammy actually stayed in the confessional in 93. I don't think he's ever going to change. He didn't feel like he did anything wrong back then. The only reason he felt like he did something wrong was because everybody else decided that he needed to get out of the house. That was the only reason that I felt like he felt bad about what he did to Tammy, for real, for real. But people's reaction to him must have been really bad back then, because they made it seem like, you know, Tammy ruined his career because it kind of made him look like he was an artist, when it was all a misunderstanding because she was laughing. But the truth of the matter is, I feel like he's allowed that to embolden him to feel like he didn't do anything wrong and everybody was attacking him. And that's not what happened. That lady was perfectly in her right with saying, and I will yell R and call the police, when you pulled down your pants and walked after her with your penis hanging out. If there is no other time for a lady that's not black to yell that, you know, or a black man, it's when he's coming behind her with his penis out. Like, you can't get mad at her for feeling like that after you had done all of these things. And to me, his energy was like, even, you know, in 2021, his energy was, I didn't do anything wrong. Y'all overreacted. And, you know, like, he has a right to be upset with Tammy. And Tammy explained that she had body dysmorphia. That's what I'm about to say. She had body dysmorphia. She was bulimic, and she did not want her body to be seen like that because she was so insecure about her body. We've all heard about this from Tammy. And it's a continued issue for her. And even when she was explaining that, he was still laughing about it and feeling like, you know, she need to just get over it, you know, kind of. So I just kind of feel like David is still an asshole. I don't think that David has changed at all. I think it was like, I laugh, but I'm doing something that's messed up, and I know I'm doing something that's messed up, but as long as everybody's laughing, then I'm going to act like it's okay.
It was interesting to me that when he got to the house and he explained that he was scared, and they showed the tapes of the aftermath when they made him out to be an artist, he wanted them to empathize with him because they could never understand the fear of a black man back then. But then this episode, when they have conversations about race, then it's like, what does race matter? It's corporations that are against us, black on black crime. It's like, he is the epitome of stereotypical black men. For example, like when Lil Wayne said Black Lives Matter ain't got nothing to do with me. Whatever black men feel like, if they are an outlier, they have the ability to be completely separate from struggles of other black people. They don't want to be associated with it. So it's like, on one hand, you want us to feel bad for you because you were a black man who was called an artist. But on the other hand, like, black people killing each other. Which one is it? His behavior was disgusting. He kept trying to, I think he has a lot of self-hate. Even the way he was coming at Tammy during this argument, he tried to make his own points. But what I hated was that he tried to use things to embarrass her as a black woman. You had to keep calling out the fact that she was wearing a wig. Then you had to call her bald-headed. Then you had to talk about how your daughter got hair all down her back. And it's like, you hate yourself, high key, and you don't respect black women, which is why you can so easily get upset with this black woman, call her a bitch because she's calling you out for being weak and not standing up for your people. It was disgusting to me. Even his behavior back then. In the first episode, I lightweight felt bad for him because I was like, dang, he probably was afraid. I was like, he probably was scared, but I can empathize with him based off that one moment because, one, I hadn't seen the old seasons. And two, I was like, he's a black man and you have this white girl using the R word against him, right? But then you don't even have that same empathy for other black people because you think that you're an outlier. So it was disgusting. I hate it. I hate it 100%.
It's because I've watched the old stuff and the new stuff, it's too much to even explain. I feel like the season is touching on different things. I think each episode is about a different thing that happened before. With Tammy and David ended horribly back in 93. And they both have had this hatred, for lack of a better word, towards each other for both of their situations. And what I liked was on episode 1, they was able to show us Tammy's version of how she felt back then and also David's. I think back in 93, we didn't see behind the scenes thing. We didn't see how Tammy felt or how David felt. So they both got to a point of, well, I didn't see your point of view then. I can see it now. But David still felt like, because all these years, Beth called me a R because I said I would joke when we put in some cover. That ruined me. Because he was in a couple of movies at that point in time. He was in a few movies back then. And when the show aired, all his
House
80s
Party
dropped
3.
him.
Stinky.
Right. So he said I got dropped once the show aired because of what Beth said. So his anger was mostly with Beth for what Beth said about him, not really Tammy. But come now, all these years later, it's weird because he's trying to fix his image, but not doing a good job. Like, I felt bad seeing how he reacted back then because those were authentic moments. But he's had 20 years to grow just a disdain for all these people, and all of that is coming out. The current episode, what I liked was when David said, I didn't have to speak up because Tammy had her point of view. I don't want to fuss with Tammy because they always fight. So I didn't mind him saying I didn't feel like fussing with Tammy because if I spoke up, it would have been a fight. Fine. I like they both being sat down and talked about their different points. Tammy was like, I am about preservation of us, and he was like corporations. They were first having a fine conversation, both speaking their points. The part that I felt like things changed is because Tammy told him he was a slave because of what he said.
She said he had a slave mentality, and he did, based off of the stuff he was saying.
But I still feel like the same way Tammy had a right to say what she said, true. But I wasn't mad at him for being offended. I feel like they still should have sat there and still talked. David didn't want to talk no more. And that was shit went left. And Tammy had every right to call Reggie because he was starting to put a wig off and all that. I felt like Tammy, like, I have too much to lose to fight this man. I've grown to fight him. And to me, in this show, David being the same David he was before, all the empathy we had, I'm like, I can't. Because you still want to fuss with Tammy and not have a conversation. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Barika.
She blew up over the years.
There's a color. Yes, you did. And I wanted to say that I felt like when he was talking to his old lady the first time, I was like, his old lady probably a white girl.
Especially when he said his daughter had hair all down her back.
All down her back.
Yeah,
he's a colorist. Yeah, he don't like black women at all. And you can tell, I almost feel like he saw Tammy as competition. And I think he was so mad at those white women because he felt like those white women were supposed to be on his side, and they were not.
Because he was against black people. He thought that he was saying what they wanted to hear
as
and
white
he
people,
would be the advocate for them, and he was upset when he wasn't. And then you highlighted a comment from Tina where she said David is envious. Absolutely. It was plain as day to me that he was envious when he said not Bonnet Chronicles, it's gonna be Wig Chronicles.
Yeah, what she do?
He think he's a comedian. He still think he's a comedian. When Tammy said, if you want to talk funny. And not have jokes, let's talk. Tammy was trying to have a conversation.
She was. I feel like she was even trying to have that conversation back in 93. Like, I almost felt like it was the same moment all over again when she got up and went in the kitchen and came back and then like fully expressed her emotions in an intelligent way to this man. She did that shit that first time in 93 and she did it this time. And it was like he still wanted to feel like he didn't really do anything wrong. Even though he kept saying that he was sorry for how she felt, he still felt like what he did was, okay. And they just overreacted. Like, I remember what he said in the confessional on the first show. He was like, y'all chose the wrong side. After he had done all of that crying, he basically said that Tammy was still wrong in the situation because she, was upset that you did that to her. But to me, like, I was talking to Lyric, and Lyric was like, as a man, I would never be, even if I thought it was funny, pulling no cover off no woman like that because I know what it's gonna look like. So the fact that he didn't think that it would even look bad that he was doing that to her, I felt like, you just don't care about how this affected her. You don't care. You just want everybody to feel bad for you, feel sorry for you. And the fact that everybody came there wanting to apologize to him, I said, y'all have nothing to apologize for. That lady that said that he could be an artist, the things that he had done, and then when Tammy explained later on the way he touched you, like he had done other things. And I think because it was 93, women were conditioned to think that behaviors were normal, and we were letting a lot of things slide that we should not have let slide. So even though I understand 93 was a different time, the shit still affected the women the way it affected the women, because they all felt uncomfortable and they all said the same things.
I want to look at Lita's comment, which is true. David's whole issue was that the incident back then, they all put on just him, when it was him, and it was also John, and it was also, I think, what the other guy was. So his anger also was they put everything on him, and he wasn't the only one. Because they showed John as he's pulling the covers off Tammy. John was on the ground
he tugged
doing
at
1, 2,
him.
3. So his point was,
It was a lot of stuff. They were
I was
all
the only
playing
one
a
that did
part.
stuff. And I think his whole point was, from his perspective, and I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
He felt like y'all all blamed just me, and it wasn't just me. It was also John who was the one who first started pulling the covers off Tammy. It wasn't David first, it was John. But people then put it all on him. So his thing was, y'all blame me, and I didn't even start it. I came into the joke, but it was all of us joking. So I think his thing was, y'all all can't still just blame me. And I like that when John thinks, okay, I played my part, Beth played her part, and so did Irene. So, but he still, to this day, I think didn't get you were still wrong too.
Right. It wasn't just you, no. And I agree that everybody needed to feel bad for what happened. But I also feel like in the moment, some of them were laughing, but still felt like something was wrong, because even dude went back to put the cover back over her, because obviously they felt like, okay, this is kind of getting too far. And that's what I was saying about him taking jokes too far. And I feel like that's like, I'm sorry, y'all, but that reminds me of our culture. Like the way he was acting was very much reminiscent to me of how people laugh away when dudes low-key be angrily doing shit to women because they low-key be mad at those women or don't like those women. And they do things and pretend that it was a joke or I was just joking. No, you were trying to humiliate that woman because secretly you view her as competition and you're jealous of her. So you were trying to use her as a joke, and it turned out really bad. And now you want people to feel sorry for you because it branded you with a name that you did not deserve, because you did not are anybody. But the things you were doing were in line with somebody that takes liberties with women that he should not. So yeah, David's still crazy, y'all. Oh, but Reggie showing up. I was so here for her calling Reggie when she said, "Let me call my husband." And Reggie said, "What happened?" "Oh, I'm on the way.
I'm on the way."
I'm on the way. I was like, yes. Lyric said, because I don't want to hear anything else, because as soon as you tell me, babe, this man did I'm gonna jump through the phone. So just, babe, this man, I'm on my way. I don't need to hear nothing else. Click, I'm on my way. I was like, yes, Reggie, yes, Lyric, please come to the aid of the women's, because ain't nobody about to be out here fighting no crazy ass David. Because David, I saw them clips from back in the day. That nigga was crazy. I was like, why would they acting like, oh, and you know, another thing, y'all, didn't he work with Dave Chappelle after the fact? It made me remember Dave Chappelle did that skit about Real World, and they made it seem like, to me, the skit was like a parody of what if a white boy got dropped into a whole bunch of black people. And, they kept doing shit to him. They, fucked this girl. They stabbed him. I think they stabbed his dad or some shit like that. And then at the end, they was like, we don't feel safe with you in the house, so we think it's time for you to go. And then they kicked him out. So Dave did like this whole parody of the situation. And I'm like, it makes me think about just how misogynistic Dave Chappelle is, because I feel like you hired him after that because you felt bad for him, because we see that's what he does. He comes to the defense of problematic black men. So I think back then he came to your defense. You went to write for him on Dave Chappelle on the show. And then they did that parody of the Real World and completely left out the portion where the black woman was humiliated in front of everybody by the black man. And everybody was a part of it, but still, like, he only took the racial, storyline of that. He didn't point out what happened with Tammy. He only pointed out that all of the white people turned on the black man and made him out to seem like he was, the villain, when really they was fucking with him. Like, that's how Dave made the skit seem. And I'm like, now that I've seen it, I'm like, yeah, nigga, you completely just left out all of the stuff that actually happened. Huh, Dave? Thanks for that. Thank you. What is that? I'm Missy, old Missy, child. I don't know, but you know, you look nice.
Oh,
Thank you for
Mar.
the super chat. Oh, is that what that says? Okay. He felt like they were even because they did it to him first, and he only had his boxers, so he thought he was gonna get them back, which was wrong, right? Because we know a woman being naked is not the same thing necessarily as a man being naked, not necessarily. It is, but it's not, you know. Thank you for the super chat. But yeah, I wish that he would have apologized initially instead of needing everybody else to make him feel bad in order for him to feel like he had did something wrong. And I feel like that's because he didn't feel like Tammy was due an apology. If he had done it to one of the white girls, I think he would have apologized immediately. But because he did it to Tammy, I think he felt like he should have been able to just get away with it and everybody should have just let it go. But yeah, that Dave Chappelle portion kind of blew me. I was like, okay, now I see.